As they do the double then over Newcastle, home and away with the victories. Ali, how can Dortmund be so good in these matches and so rubbish at the weekend against Bayern?
Well, obviously Newcastle is not nearly as good as Bayern Munich. No, but frankly, and I'm just looking at it from the perspective because I've seen Borussia Dortmund and I saw their lack of defending not only against Bayern Munich but the weekend before against Eintracht Frankfurt. Coming into this game in 2 league games, Borussia Dortmund had allowed 7 goals. Quick math, that's not very good.
Nope.
And so defensively, they have their issues in transition. And it almost felt like Newcastle had not seen the tape and hadn't seen the fact that Mats Hummels cannot run with anybody that has any sort of speed. I understand that Newcastle is going to set up defensively in a way that they're going to absorb some pressure because of their injuries and what have you. So then that opens them up for the opportunity to go on the counter. But you're one guy that somewhat matches the profile of a player like Leroy Sané was able to exploit in Bayern Munich, is Miguel Almirón. And you have him on the bench. Now, I'm not comparing Almirón and Sané, but he is the profile of player that can run by a guy like Mats Hummels, that can at least give you an outlet on a counter-attack opportunity in transition and can exploit some of the frailties that Dortmund has been showing throughout the course of the season. He's on the bench. You have, indeed, no option going on the counter. Nobody to really hold the ball up. Wilson is sort of running around all by himself. There was no outlet. There was no second or third pass, and therefore no opportunity for transition. That meant that Borussia Dortmund can do what they do best, and that is, you know what? We can attack. We can set our numbers forward. We can park ourselves in the attacking half. We're going to pressure the ball, win it right back, and try to create chances that way. That's why Borussia Dortmund were able to win the game as easily as they did.
It's all quite straightforward, wasn't it, for Dortmund? And at no stage did you really think that Newcastle were going to get back in?
By far the better side, and particularly in the first half. I think in the team set-up, right, and you can forget that 4-3-3 because it wasn't. I think they were way too cautious. He played basically it was 4-5-1, right? Two full-backs on the right side, Livramento and Trippier, and Joe Linton on the left, 3 in the middle of the park, and Callum Wilson somewhere up there, right? A country mile from anybody. So when they did win it back, their out ball was getting swallowed up by 2 or 3 players against one, and it was coming straight back. So I thought they were way too cautious. Therefore, they were trying to keep, when they did win the ball back, they were on the edge of their own penalty area, and they're trying to play out, and Borussia Dortmund were nicking it. As Ali said, I think they missed a great opportunity here to a side who got smashed at the weekend, and who are slow at the back. And I think, for me, Eddie Howe, looking at his selection in the first half, and he did change it, Anthony Gordon came on, Almirón came on, and they looked a lot livelier. Looking at his selection, it said to me, we will take a point. But what he did to me was hand the initiative straight to Borussia Dortmund, and they took it.
A battered and bruised Borussia Dortmund. That would be the disappointing thing if you're a Newcastle supporter watching the way you were set up for this tie, is that you go for it. You know, they're very much on the road.
On the one hand, Dortmund, there had to be a response given what we saw on the weekend. You'd expect that. On the other, Newcastle, coming off the back of a very good result themselves into the Champions League, and I've said this time and time again, Newcastle, when they play more attacking, when they play on the front foot, they are far better. When they set up to sit back and soak up pressure, they have struggled. That's when they were at their best against PSG. Yes, they lost to Dortmund at St. James's Park, but the performance was a whole lot better. So I, like everybody, was a little bit surprised with how kind of cautious Eddie Howe went, and thought it was more to do with maybe injuries and how he just had to kind of patch his team up. Seeing Joe Linton play that high up the park, that is not his best role for Newcastle United. And then I thought, with the changes, I thought...
Can you point us this excuse?
Look, but you deal with this. And I think Newcastle has dealt with this fairly well. You know Callum Wilson isn't Alexander Isak. You know he plays on the shoulder of centre-backs, so play to that. I just, again, felt that the setup was too defensive. And while things changed in the first changed at half-time, and I thought Newcastle were a whole lot better, Dortmund were comfortable because now they have the lead. They can sit back, they can soak pressure up, and they can hit Newcastle on the counter-attack. And that was the bigger threat. As long as they didn't allow Newcastle back in the game, they just kind of let it fizzle out. And then Newcastle played their part in the second goal that clinched it. But from a Dortmund's perspective, I thought they handled the second half really, really well. when, in my opinion, I thought Newcastle gave them that opportunity.
All those players were out at the weekend. Dan Burn only played a half, and Jacob Murphy come on for a few minutes, and his shoulder went. And they managed to go. But they managed to go. They managed to go toe for toe with Arsenal, who I think we'd all agree are a better side than Dortmund, albeit Newcastle were at home. So I don't think injuries are an excuse at all. It's just how you cope with it. I thought the way that he set his team up in that first half just invited Dortmund all over them.
The only excuse I can offer Newcastle here is that they have really struggled with these Champions League weeks. Whether it's how they fare after, and they've got Bournemouth to come now, or in the lead up to it. It's a little bit of a learning process. That being said, that is an excuse of somebody who supported Newcastle. The performance itself doesn't, well, they got what they deserved. They fully got what they deserved today.
What were you mumbling about, Frank?
No, I'm with the guys. You know, for me it was insane and quite stupid. You know, from Eddie Howe. I mean, we all agree that he does a good job with Newcastle, but that was a real crazy mistake I saw today from him. He is completely responsible. No, the injuries are not an excuse for him. The way he set up the team was completely wrong. Except when you know who you're going to face. Dortmund, with all the doubts that they had, they've been completely crashed last weekend. When Newcastle won, you know, go for it. Enjoy the Champions League. Yeah, it's a learning process for the team, but especially for Eddie Howe. And today was a lesson of not what to do. That was crazy for me to see what Newcastle showed in the first half, meaning playing the complete opposite of what they are capable of doing. Now, they been slapped in the face by the decision that Eddie Howe made. Sorry.